Testing episode without intro music because I think we need the to transfer the license from the mobile to the desktop to have the intro music, and I don't know where the function for the intro music is on here. So, but anyway, we are creating an episode in Riverside, and
Woohoo! Look at us go.
we're going to upload this as another mini micro episode to introduce people to us because for old listeners, old people who listen to the Autistic Culture podcast might know me, but for brand new listeners who are just wandering around the internet and happen to fall into this, they don't. So I used to have a podcast where I talked about autistic things because my name is Matt. I am autistic. I have an autistic son. I do evaluations in Kentucky. I created the Autistic Centered Therapy. We sort of wrote a book almost, but we're going to work on that a little more, and talked a lot about all these people throughout history who are autistic. But we are going to talk about why we should be autistic. And here is my co-host, Erin. Who are you? Tell us about you.
So, I'm Dr. Erin Findley. I'm a psychologist in Napa, California. I am also autistic and ADHD and gifted. Not that that's gotten me a whole lot in life, the gifted part.
Yeah. I keep
It's
forgetting about the gifted,
the
especially when
whole
trying to
thing.
navigate the Apple
Yeah.
labyrinth.
Yeah. I feel very
Yeah,
gifted these days when I'm going through all of the two-factor authentications and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyways,
Hence the need for this trial because we are trying to figure out how to streamline all of the things to make regular episodes happen. But yes, tell
that's
us
right.
more about you and your practice and why we are talking.
Well, so I'm a psychologist in Napa, California, like I said, and autistic, ADHD gifted. I am somebody who specializes in working with autistic adults, particularly late identified autistic adults. I specialize in neurodivergent, mixed neurotype couples. So when one person has, one brain style and another person has another brain style, how do we bridge the gap between the two without making one person bad and the other person good? And
Because
then the other part
there's a
too
lot of
is,
stuff where a lot of people say, yeah, that other person should think different. How come they
yeah,
think they're
no,
different? Yeah.
no. Your brain works the way your brain works, and my brain works the way my brain works. And if we don't intentionally find a way to bridge the gap, the relationship is going to be a burden on one person or the other person, or probably both, honestly. So I do that. The other thing that I do is I am a brain spotting consultant, and I specialize in neurodivergent affirming brain spotting and developmental trauma brain spotting. So that's another piece of my work. So I'm really digging into a bunch of how does neurodivergence in general and autism specifically show up in adults and adult relationships, and how do we do it better, right? Not just we as autistic people, but we as humanity. How do we do it better?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. And this is going to be the big thing because there are a lot of people who listen to my prior podcast, the Autistic Culture podcast, because previously I came at this from an approach that we are indeed a culture because autism is genetic, passed down from parent to child. It we have certain things that we pass down with it. For instance, as we are sitting here on a Friday night trying to figure out all the specifics of how to log into Apple,
Oh my gosh.
my son is
It's been a
blasting.
cluster, y'all.
Yeah, and tonight is not as smooth as normal because normally I have this microphone and I have headphones and all this other stuff to make it sound as smooth as butter. So,
If you all want it raw, here's raw
yeah,
right
yeah,
here.
this is about as raw as it gets. We are unfiltered, unedited, and
That's
it's
right.
this is not smooth. This is going to be chunky until we get all the details ironed out. But
That's right.
while my son is in my bedroom playing arcade games and listening to Weird Al Yankovic, as we
Nice.
do.
Nice.
So uh,
This is the
we
way.
this is the way, and So again, the focus of the old podcast was who is autistic, and to try to provide this autism affirming lens to people throughout history who showed a number of traits that, had they existed in present day, or had they gone to somebody like us who are autistic and know these things, because you helped create the Autistic Centered Therapy. You
I
are an
did.
autistic person who does autism evaluations.
Yes.
So you are able to spot late diagnosed people. So people
Yeah.
like Walt Disney comes in, and you say, "Oh yeah, yeah. So you got on all them trains, huh? Yeah, and you have problems with the relationships, and you tend to break down and cry on the job because you
I
get
can even identify autistic people who don't like trains.
exactly. There you go. Quite the specialist there.
Mm.
Oh, made eye contact. Yeah,
There you go. Oh,
yeah, it still works.
yes. Yeah.
But yeah, so the last podcast focused on who is autistic and what is autistic, and I still have we're still going to cover a lot of stuff because we got to talk about James Gunn's Superman and all the autistic traits. We got to talk about Gary, because once you see Superman, Gary is one of my all-time favorite characters now. He is autistic as all get out, portrayed by Alan Tudyk, who is known for portraying a lot of autistic coded characters. But Gary is fantastic. So we're going to
Yes.
talk about a lot of stuff like that, but we're also going to talk about how to be a healthy autistic person. For instance, like right now, we are, because we're doing the behind the scenes stuff of trying to streamline things, trying to change the godforsaken Apple account so that we can both log into it at the same time to
Yeah.
upload things.
Hmm.
This is what we call process complexity, where
Hmm.
we see a whole bunch of details, and whereas an allistic person, a non-autistic person, might say, "Oh yeah, yeah, but it's just a thing. We'll work through that." It makes me want to scream and throw my phone through other phones because the the 15 factor authentication that Apple provides is my personal hell. I hate this.
Hmm.
And we have to get through all of these details in order to make a regular podcast, or indeed make any podcast at all, because I'm hoping that this particular recording that we're doing will eventually find its way to YouTube, find its way to Apple, find its way to Spotify. And if people indeed are listening to this, yay us.
Yeah.
If
Right.
not, I am just cursing and trying to resurrect Steve Jobs just to throttle him. So
Yeah, technology can be really helpful in this regard. So, any of you who are struggling with the same thing, I cannot tell you how many times my password manager, which is called One Password, has saved my butt. Another great one is LastPass. So, free advertising to those two because they rock. They're the ones that I hear most often used, and it can help you, save all your crazy passwords. And Matt, you can attest to the fact that my passwords are crazy on
yeah,
purpose.
extensive,
Right,
unmemorable, yeah,
right,
intricate. And
right.
this is the thing. This is the thing because there's a lot of life hacks that we as autistic people need to compensate for a world being non-accommodating for autistic people, and a password manager is one of them. And this is going to be a recurring theme for this new show of how to be autistic. We haven't gone into the name yet. Uh,
Oh,
tell,
yes.
tell us the name of this new project that is autistic, and we are saying with our voices.
So, in fact, it is called the Autistic Voice Project. And because you, Matt, are the king of acronyms,
I do love a good
uh,
acronym.
yeah, why don't you share with everybody what that's actually standing for?
So, voice, VOICE, is validating our identity, culture, and experiences.
That's
And
right.
I think that that's a really, really great summary of everything that we plan to do here, because I was once told with the old podcast that it was they liked hearing about all the, autistic history and stuff, but it made them feel bad because they didn't measure up to these famous autistic people who did a lot of cool stuff. But again, a lot of famous autistic people uh, existed in a time before all this complexity or had enormous money or support to get through all of this to make cool things happen. And this is how we are going to help people on a day to day basis navigating a world that hates and fears us. And password managers are like this. We are going to validate these sort of struggles. We are going to talk about our identity. We're going to talk about our culture, and again, the cool autistic things and Weird Al. We've got to have an episode about Weird Al because, good Lord, that man.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to happen. And again, we one of the things that I've been sitting on for months is how DuckTales, the 2017 reboot, is the most autistic series ever made. And when you look down the list of people who starred on it and the list of people who wrote it and everybody, it's so many well-known autistic people in this. It's possibly the greatest autistic gathering ever.
Well,
So
that
so
might explain why DuckTales was one of my shows when I was growing up.
oh, there's a whole history behind the theme song and why it is the greatest theme song ever written. And
Okay.
it is
Matt is the pop
mathematically.
culture guy, by the way. I'm so, like that my everybody jokes that I grew up under a rock and I still live under a rock. So all things pop culture, Matt will be your guy because
Yeah, yeah.
me, I'm just not that person.
It's going to be great, and we'll have all sorts of neat stuff. But the big thing is, we also want to validate people's experiences and offer helpful insights on how to manage all this, because we both do the therapy with the autistic people exclusively. Well,
I see non-autistic people as well, but usually there's some neurodivergent link in there, and often if there's the person that I'm working with is not autistic themselves, they often have someone who's autistic in their lives in some way. So, like, yeah, it's still relevant.
yeah,
It's all connected.
it
Plus,
is.
my husband's in marriage with an autistic person, so I can tell you all about that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're that person he's married to, and that's neat. Yeah, yeah. And you've got the autistic accent for anyone else who has a discerning ear, because that has come up in the past. That people like to hear autistic people being autistic, so that's cool. So
So Matt, can you actually take a minute to dive into that because I know what I sound like and I know the patterns that I listened for, but like there's some info going around the, social media sphere that's like autistic accent is actually about how quick people pick up accents. And while that is a feature of the autistic ear and the autistic pattern matching, that's not what we're talking about with the autistic accent. So can
that
you
is
go into
true.
that a bit?
That is true. Okay, so the autistic accent is one of the most fascinating things that I find about autistic people, and it's been a thing that has been well known to us for years. But
Mm.
only a couple of years ago did allistic researchers find out about this through AI, because AI picked up on patterns. Because again,
Shocker.
yeah. The researchers call it monotone, disjointed, pedantic speech with tangential conversation and difficulty modulating breathing as we speak. So,
Mm.
for instance, when I do my neurotypical voice, it's slow and it's smooth. And I stop at periods and at commas, and I use general languages instead of being very specific. That's exhausting for me. That's yeah. The
You look
customer
like
service
you're
is
about
usually
to
something else.
die.
Yeah, yeah, and the autistic voice is very steady and very it doesn't go really up and down. It does not go up and down a whole lot. If you watch local news,
Hmm.
these people will fluctuate all over the place for no discernible reason. I don't understand it. It horrifies me. If you
It's
watch a lot of
it's called
YouTube,
vocal prosody, by the way, that
tell us
term.
about this. Tell us about this. What the hell?
So, fun fact, my background before I was a psychologist was as an opera singer. So listening to the
Fun fact,
melody.
people. That's neat.
Yeah, right. So I have a bachelor's and master's in vocal performance in addition to my psychology degrees. And so I have a very keenly tuned ear for voices. What? Why are you laughing?
I'm because the allistic and neurotypical job progression is go to high school, go to college, get a degree, do that job for 70 years, and die. Ours is, you might dabble in a master's in opera for a while before becoming a psychologist.
Well, I
Yeah,
didn't I didn't end up having an opera career for a number of reasons, fat phobia being one of them. But also, yeah, I know, right? But the other thing was once I started to get a sense of the lifestyle that I would have to live in order to be a professional opera singer, I was like, wait, no, I want to stay home
yeah.
with my dogs
It's,
and my ex-husband at the time, who
it makes it
now
very difficult to
I'm
sing the opera at the home.
well, we just don't have the patrons for it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, whenever that day was, if it ever even existed, we would have rich patrons of the arts, and they would have their favorites, and those favorites would, come and sing, and it would be, oh, Matt Lowry starring in this, Matt Lowry starring in that, Matt Lowry starring in this other thing, right? And we just don't have that anymore. Assuming people even go to opera, which they don't a lot anymore. So, anyways, that's a whole different rant. Um,
Tangential conversation at its finest.
Except it's not tangential. That's the thing. It is there. There is a thread. There is a link. And
There
yes, that was a
is.
bit of there was a
There
bit of a
is.
step to the side, but it wasn't.
It
It's
is.
not totally unrelated.
Because this is the thing. Allistics perceive conversation as like a series of Christmas lights going in sequence from one to the other to the other to the other. But we process things in parallel where we go off on these perceived tangents. And again, we're perceived as being the pedantic because we're very specific in the language that we use. But again, we go off on these journeys to explain why we are where we are because you have to have the background why an opera singer is talking to us about the autistic
Vocal
accent.
prosody.
Yeah, so tell us about this.
Right. So I think, well, I know that we perceive things in more detail. We autistic
We
people
do.
perceive things in more detail. So the easiest example that I can give of that is imagine you have the same picture. One of those pictures is like the quality that you would post on the web. That's 72 DPI dots per inch, right? And the other is the quality that you would print for a like a brochure or something. That's 1200 DPI, okay?
That's a lot of
So
DPI.
again, dots per inch. Now, 72 DPI and 1200 DPI, same picture, different resolution. So
Hmm.
you're going to get more detail out of the 1200 DPI, not surprisingly, than you would out of the 72 DPI. It takes longer to process 1200 than it does to process 72,
Accurate.
right? But also, you can notice nuances. So when we hear neurotypical vocal prosody, it sounds very sing-songy to us because we're hearing it in that 1200 DPI. And so it sounds like you're speaking in rhythms and melodies that make no sense whatsoever. And I feel like I'm being completely asinine right now as I'm doing this, right? Versus,
Uh, write in and tell us your opinions if we can do that. I'm not sure if we can. Yes, go on.
so like that feels completely asinine to me. And for the longest time in my singing lessons, my teacher would say, do more, do more, do more. I'm like, I am I am doing all that I can. I am trying to, show the differences between, how you might experience it up close versus far away, like and it wasn't until I learned I was autistic and it wasn't until I learned about these differences that I realized that it was because my the the resolution, the fidelity, if you will, that's another way that it can be described as high fidelity, um, that I perceive makes it so that the shifts that are natural for me are too small for neurotypicals and allistics to identify.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
this right here is why this attention to detail makes us in our jobs way not just more efficient but more uh, understanding of all of these things because we pick up on the details that the allistics and the neurotypicals do not. For instance, like
Mm,
the trains. If a
right.
young white cisgender boy comes in and says, "Man, I love only trains," then the allistics are going to say, "Yes, that is one of three things I know of autism. Does he line up things? Does he love trains?" And I don't know.
Does he not have friends?
There you go. There you go. But if you're an adult woman who makes eye contact, has a family, and drives a car, they're going to say, "Well, you might, but who knows? You're probably go back and have that family there." So it's one of those things because we pick up on all these details. And like earlier today, again, we went to see James Gunn's Superman. Fantastic movie. Can't recommend it enough. Love it to death. This was my son's first ever movie in the movie theater. Partially because of COVID, partially because, being able to get up and walk around. He loved it. He also loved that there was an arcade there. But the other people who went to see Superman were a lot of autistic fathers and sons. And
Oh my God, I love it.
while we were waiting there, we got into a conversation about the history of Superman, George Reeves Superman, Christopher
Mm.
Reeves Superman, all of the comic links, and I mean, I nailed these people right away because not only the accent, but the body posture, the hunched over posture that we all have because of our wonky meat bodies,
Mm.
all the topics of conversation, the depths of conversation, and it's fascinating that we essentially work on modem noises where we vibe and create a link with other people that is beyond others, and it's because of there's a thing called matrixing where you unconsciously pick up on data, and then form a cohesive picture of it. Uh, Neurotypicals are capable of this to some extent, and it's a big term in ghost hunting, because if you have like infrasound and rattly pipes and it's cold, neurotypicals say, "Oh no, it's a ghost," because reasons. And you say, well, there's infrasound there, and indeed that can cause a lot of interesting reactions because of evolutionary changes and how the human body perceives the world around us, which is a whole other fascinating thing because, again, you're opera, noises. It's
I
fascinating.
do.
But with us, we are able to pick up on so much minutia and add it up. And there's something safe about being around other autistic people that allows us to say, "You look like a fellow who would enjoy a conversation about the history of Superman." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yes, yes, I would." And while
Mm-hmm.
my autistic son is kind of sitting there dancing around and smiling, having a good time, his autistic son is kind of standing there dancing around, having a good time. And it's one of those things. And again, very polite, holding doors open for each other because we tend to be like that. Not always, because again, we are not a monolith.
Right.
But discussing the various Superman popcorn accoutrements. We got a
Butter. Lots of butter. More
yes,
butter.
yes, yes, and
And
we got a
salt.
Superman
Lots
pop.
of salt.
Exactly. We got a Superman popcorn bucket, the popcorn or the drink cup, and of course I bought it separately because I didn't want popcorn and drink to be in the popcorn and drink cup because I collect them. That's not what they're for. We don't use them for their intended purpose. They're decorations. But this is the thing. This is one of the things that I hope that we can bring to the podcast because I want us to be your parasocial friends who tell you more about the autism, how to live the autistic life, and how to teach you the way. Because we have lived the way ourselves. It's been a lot of trial and error, at least on my part.
Oh yeah.
And we've known each other for several years. We do a lot of stuff. We try to figure out stuff together. That's how we created Autistic Centered Therapy, because we know that autistic people come to therapy looking for different stuff than allistic people. We know that traditional methods like CBT, not our friend, because we need more. We process more data. We can't turn off our big emotions. We have our amygdala screaming at us all the damn time. All kinds of neat stuff. And these are the kind of things that we are going to bring to you all as an audience, and hopefully do this every week. We are going to do shorter podcasts because when I left the Autistic Culture podcast, Erin was kind enough to make up that form that a lot of people responded to of what do we do next? And one of the things is that people are looking for a shorter format because, you might not always have
Right.
time for a 66-minute episode, but you might be able to fit in a 20, 30-minute episode.
Right.
So this was intended to be a test video, a very raw test video, but I think we've got an actual complete episode that we
I
are.
think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Before we wrap, I think we also ought to share how we're stimming right now,
Oh, yes, yes. I am in a rocking
just for
chair
fun.
for people who are not on YouTube. I am rocking back and forth. I'm moving my hands, and I need constant motion. I need to raise my table because, again, I didn't get into podcast mode because I was doing tech support. So these are going to be some adjustments that we're going to make for future podcasts. How about you, Aaron? How are you stimming?
So right now, I have a blanket in my lap.
Ah,
This
nice.
blanket lives in my lap all the time, and it's soft. And so I might be rubbing it, or I might be tying knots with the little fringes, or I might doing that. The other thing that I don't have on right now, but I normally do, is I have a heating pad under my feet,
Ooh.
so that I'm
Oh, ooh, don't
constantly
stop
getting
that.
that. Well, I mean, my feet are always cold, because I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is one of the common things for um, autistic people.
Wonky meat bodies, yes.
Wonky meat body, and part of that comes with that is Raynaud's phenomenon, which means super cold hands and feet usually. Um, and the other thing too is it's a subtle grounding for me. So I can always use it to ground into my feet when I'm in session, when I'm sitting at my desk, you know, if I'm working with a trauma client who's experiencing big feelings, I can kind of shift my attention down to the heat that's coming into my feet. But it's 100 degrees out here today, so I don't have the heat on right now. But I can still feel the texture of it under my feet, so that still counts.
So the autistic experience of being 100 degrees outside, you need to cool the house down and then put the hot on the cold because the cold is on the hot. And yeah,
Yeah, because I still have my blanket on my lap,
yeah.
and I will always have the blanket on. And my husband's like, "Are you crazy? It's 100 degrees out. Why do you have a blanket on?" I'm like, "I have to have a blanket on. Just don't ask me. I have to have a blanket on."
We have reasons.
We have reasons.
Yeah.
It's true.
So that said, I think that since we're approaching it's neat that we get to see. Are you able to see the time at the top?
I can't see how long it's been, so
Oh,
we're just.
oh, I can see the timer, and this is going to be one of the things that we've got to work on to get
We'll
Aaron
figure it
full
out.
access to all this. But we're going to go ahead and stop now and upload and work on music and work on all this other stuff to make it more polished. And as we get all the details together, we hope that you all join us on this journey. We're going to bring in
Yes,
our rowdy friends who are all autistic and ADHD and
that's right.
have all these insane arcane interests, and
Hmm.
we are going to share them all with you, and we're going to have a really fun time doing it. So please check back, join us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Please leave comments. Please go, God, what a rate, review, all this other stuff.
Rate, review, ask questions,
Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah, because I honestly have no idea how to interact with anybody because I wasn't allowed to do it on the other podcast. But we'll figure it out, and we will get back to you. And when you rate and review, it pushes us up in the podcast ratings so we can find other autistic people who are going through, and they may not know that this place exists. So
Right.
welcome to Autistica.
Yes. Welcome, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.